I got more heckles if you like.
No, you keep going. You can keep going if you want. It's cool.
Why don't you just call it the tool bag segment? It doesn't need to be toolbox. You say toolbox, and then it's like, is that the tool bag?
Okay. We call them a toolbox in England. Like, there's no such thing as a tool bag here. Why would we call it a tool bag section? That doesn't mean anything.
It says tool bag.
Okay, what we need to do is we need to cut it for different audiences, what they call it locally. Find out what they call it in every country.
No, that sounds fucking great. Let's do that.
Yeah. You can get right on that. It's fine.
Yeah. Sure.
To be fair, he's the only one that calls it tool bag.
I know. Nobody called it. Exactly, right? Yeah.
Sorry, what's the thing you wear on your belt when you're
Tool
in
belt.
construction?
That's a tool belt. Yeah, it's a belt.
No, the
got a
bags
belt.
that hang off of it.
No.
I think it's a tool belt on the belt. You have a belt, and you turn that into a tool belt by attaching tools. Like, any box can be a toolbox if it contains tools. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, completely.
What if I attached a Ziploc bag to it? Would it be then a tool bag?
If you then put tools inside the bag, it would be a tool bag on a tool belt. Yeah.
These hackles are crushing it. Thank you. The door just shut.
Okay,
Is this time to go?
let's go for it.
All right. Here we go, everybody. Are we streaming? I think we are.
Yeah, we're all good.
Okay. On this episode, we perform a live recording at QED Manchester. Welcome back to the show. This is a show where two podcasters with now 126 hours of Rogan experience get to know Joe Rogan. It's a show for those who are curious about Joe Rogan, his guests, and their claims, as well as for anyone who wants to understand Joe's ever-growing media influence, including a full room here at QED Manchester. I'm Cecil Cicerello, joined by Michael Marshall, and today we are going to be covering a smattering of topics for our live QED appearance. What are we covering today, Marsh?
Yeah, so because this is a live show, we didn't want to do our normal format of picking someone and like forensically taking apart a 4-hour video because you don't have time for that. You've got lots of other interesting things to get through here at QED. So we're actually going to start off by looking at Joe's views on censorship in the UK. That's going to be our main event. And then the toolbox/tool bag, for those who partake,
Really?
is going to be taking a look at how Joe's views have changed over time, because we've got a little bit of a look back in the past, looking at what Joe Rogan thought, and we can compare that to what he thinks now and sort of see what difference we can observe. And then to end, we're going to tell you about the fact that we get emails that are addressed to Joe Rogan. And we're going to talk you through some of the things that we find in those emails and what it means, what it says that Joe Rogan is being contacted about by his audience, what they want to know from him. That's what we're going to do today.
Absolutely crushed it. Way to go. So before we start today, we wanted to ask the audience, sort of poll the audience, because we're not really sure who listens to the show or why they listen to the show, but we're curious. So if you have listened to multiple episodes of Rogan, not just like clips on our show, but multiple episodes of Rogan, let's see a show of hands. Multiple episodes of Rogan. Okay, 4 or 5.
Okay.
One full episode of Joe Rogan. Little more. Clips in random places, news organizations. Okay. Only clips on our show. You need to read the news more. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So today we're going to get started with our main event, and we're here in England, and it's been a while since I've been to the UK. It was about 8 years. Since then, you have Brexited. You have pandemicked. Mm-hmm. There was a moment in time where you had a prime minister whose term of office was measured in the span of rotting lettuce, I believe. And now there is a new crisis on the horizon, and it's not the immigration crisis. You can't steal our crisis, okay? it is, in fact, censorship. I know it's a big deal here. You can't really say anything anymore. And we know that because we have found an expert on censorship. His name is Joe Rogan.
You may have heard of it.
He had another expert from the United States who knows nothing about the UK on to have a conversation about this. His name is Greg Braden. We just covered him, but he talked about UK censorship for a few minutes. I think Marsh called him Wolverine's high uncle, and you will get an opportunity to see what that looks like in a moment. So here they are. This is the first clip. They are talking about power, control, and censorship.
So just like
Well, the problem seems to be power and control. That's
is.
the problem. And the only way to have power and control over people is to limit their ability to express themselves and then keep them at each other's throats.
Well,
And
that's-
those are two things that are happening all the time with social media. The people that manage social media are consistently trying to limit the reach of people that have voices or narratives that they don't approve of. And ultimately, what you're seeing in other countries is moving to digital IDs. This is just implemented in Europe and in the UK.
Yep.
You're seeing it in a lot of places where you're going to have to need that to work and vote and travel. And it'll be even more of a constriction on your ability to express yourself, particularly when you think about the UK, which has had more than 12,000 arrests for very mild social media posts.
Isn't that crazy? I mean,
Criticizing-
I can't believe that. I've been watching this stuff play out.
Fascinating, and the fact that our mainstream media is relatively silent on this is insane. You're seeing a complete, total attack on one of the most fundamental principles of the Western world, which is your ability to express yourself. And your ability to call out that you think that the policies that are being implemented in your country are destructive. That's people have always been able to do that. These people are not calling for violence. They're being arrested for wild things. People are being arrested for liking posts. They're being arrested. Some people were investigated for viewing posts. 12,000 people arrested by the police in the UK, the same place that just implemented digital ID. I mean, this is an Orwell nightmare coming to life right in front of our face. And no one's flinching. No one in America is freaking out about what's happening in the UK at all. I mean, you get people online that are kind of freaked out by it, but they're way more freaked out by nonsensical things like whether or not what Jimmy Kimmel said in his monologue was offensive. They'll go to the ends of the earth to fight that.
Well, they're programmed. That's the programming.
Okay. So people are getting freaked out by nonsensical things, and they should be getting freaked out by the 12,000 people who are arrested for viewing posts. We're not being arrested in this country for viewing posts. I don't even know how you would arrest someone for viewing a post, because if you're scrolling Twitter or something and it suddenly appears there, what are you meant to do? Like throw your phone across the room and not look at it. The 12,000 figure, it is an accurate-ish figure. It's not about viewing posts at all. In fact, it's not even all about social media. These are the arrests under Section 127 of the Communications Act 2003 and Section 1 of the Malicious Communications Act 1988. Okay, now note, those aren't recent dates. So these aren't acts that were brought in to manage people viewing things they shouldn't be viewing on Facebook or Twitter. This is 1988 Malicious Communications Act. That 12,000 figure, he said that's 12,000 a year. It was for the year 2023, which, it's worth pointing out, isn't under the current government. Now, Joe Rogan is bringing this up as a way of saying right now the UK is going totalitarian, digital IDs, having to show your ID to travel anywhere. The UK government right now has gone crazy. This 12,000 figure is evidence of that. Well, we'll get to the 12,000 figure in a second, but it's from 2023, so it's not this government, it's the previous government. In terms of that 12,000, sentencing has actually fallen under that law from around 2,000 cases in 2016 to around 1,100 cases in 2023. So are we heading into a dystopian nightmare? Is that evidence of it? I think it's not. It's actually going in the opposite direction in terms of number of actual prosecutions. But those 12,000 cases, as I say, they're not all about posting messages or viewing messages or liking messages on social media. Crimes under 127 of the Communications Act and Section 1 of the Malicious Communications Act, they include any form of communication. That includes phone calls, letters, emails, hoax calls to emergency services. that 12,000 figure includes some domestic abuse-related crimes. So things like malicious phone calls to your ex. If somebody has harassed one of their partners or ex-partners, that 12,000 figure will include men who have harassed their ex-partners but have used social media or phone calls to do it, and therefore they're under the Malicious Communications Act. That's what that 12,000 will include. It also includes, and this is a story in the newspapers, someone who dressed up at Halloween as the suicide bomber who blew himself up at the Ariana Grande concert in Manchester Arena.
Keep it classy.
Yeah, exactly. This guy killed 22 people, the suicide bomber did, including children. Someone dressed up on social media, posted images of him dressed as that bomber, and he got arrested for that. He was wearing an I Love Ariana Grande t-shirt. He had a rucksack with Boom and TNT written on it. I'm not saying I support arresting someone for that or support any of this, which I don't. I mean, should people dress as recent murderers of children for a laugh? I don't think so. Should that be a crime for doing it? I don't necessarily think so either. But that was in there in this mix. This isn't just about liking or viewing posts. When Joe is saying 12,000 people are arrested for liking or viewing posts, he knows none of that context that I've just told you, because he's just quoting claims that are floating around the internet in the bubble of online kind of social media messaging that he consumes. I think where he found this, shortly before he talked about this, Trump was on an official visit here to the UK, and he was asked a question by a journalist about exactly this. When he was in a press conference with Keir Starmer, a journalist specifically asked Keir Starmer a question about the 12,000 people who were arrested for social media posts and free speech violations. And a clip of that went viral. I think that's what Joe is picking up and repeating to Wolverine's high uncle here. But the journalist who brought that figure up, this is asked by a journalist, it must be legitimate. The journalist was Beverly Turner from GB News. She isn't someone I would describe as an unbiased seeker of truth. She was a regular talking head for talk shows during the pandemic because she claimed that vaccines were ineffective, that the lockdowns were specifically akin to apartheid in South Africa, is what she said. She later drew criticism for saying that the COVID-19 virus had been bioengineered to be less dangerous to Jewish people. And when Keir Starmer at one point was accosted on the street by some far-right propagandists trying to link him to Jimmy Savile, she claimed that whole stunt was engineered by Keir Starmer's team in order to gain sympathy. Now, none of that is a model for reliable source of information, but that's what Joe, I think, is referring to. I think that's kind of his source for that. And him asking about this figure is a sign that he is ingesting all of that kind of propaganda just completely uncritically. As for digital IDs, that is something that the Labour government is planning to bring in. I'm against them as an idea. I mean, to be clear, they're in order to access government services, be able to vote, things like that. It's not about travel. What Joe has in mind is a 15-minute city where you have to show your papers to get out of your local area and you're hemmed in. He talks about 15-minute cities being brought in the UK, and as you know, they aren't. Lots of you have come from further than 15 minutes walk away in order to come to this very live show. I'm against the idea of digital IDs mostly because I think the way they'll be implemented will be to involve a private company with very shady intentions who we hand all of our private data to. I think that's a bigger issue for it. Maybe Joe would agree with me on that, but when you look at his guest list, mistrust of giant tech corporations run by egotistical billionaires doesn't seem high on his agenda. So that is the context for the UK censorship view that Greg Braden is giving Joe right now.
Those are all amazing points, Marsh. But I think everybody here is wondering what comes out of High Wolverine as claws.
It's just joints, isn't it? It's just blunts the entire time.
Psilocybin mushroom that he just popped. All right, next clip. This is that first one is the longest one. All the rest of these are relatively short. This next one is how the UK is tyrannical.
Well, it's easy. That's a simple thing, and it doesn't freak you out. Like, if you could get Jimmy Kimmel canceled, fuck him. If you could do that, like, you have some power. You have power. But you really don't. If you look at what's going on, like, in the UK, what they're learning over there is that they are in a tyrannical government. And it's slowly but surely, it's got its back, it's got the hooks in, and it's putting the rear naked choke in. It's got them locked up. And they've got to do something about that.
Why do you think that's happening?
Why? Because of what we talked about, power. Power and control and resources. And a very limited amount of people are controlling a huge amount of people. A limited amount of people with fantastic access to resources and the ability for the first time in human history where you have individuals that are in charge of companies that they can shift the entire narrative of the world. So they're doing it through these tech companies for the first time ever. Totally unanticipated. 20 years ago, didn't exist.
So I'm saying for the first time, the tech allows for the remaking of our humanness.
I gotta bring my book back into it real quick.
I hope we all now have in our head the image of Keir Starmer having us in a rear naked chokehold, by the way. That is seared into my brain and never getting out.
So really quick though, I mean, it was the people who pressured ABC to cancel Jimmy Kimmel were the people in power. Sure, there were people that were low powered that were calling the network and calling their local affiliates, but it was the people in power, very specifically the FCC chair. He was the one who went on a podcast, and he essentially had a moment on this podcast where he explained that these companies should take action against Jimmy Kimmel, and that is government pressure to pull him off the air, and that is something that is explicitly against the very First Amendment. So that's something that I think Joe is missing here. He makes it seem like it's just hysteria of the crowd, but it's not. It was very specific pressure from someone who sits very high in the government.
Yeah, absolutely. And so he's saying that the UK is a tyrannical government. I mean, we haven't got a tyrannical government at all. Honestly, I think we've mostly got a fairly incompetent centrist government who are being led around by
God, would I want that so bad. Oh.
Okay. No, that is fair. I mean, our incompetent centrists are being led around by minor parties with extremist ideologies. You just have an extremist ideology in place. Like you do have the more tyrannical government. You've got military on the streets and mass groups bundling people into vans. Yeah, Joe has seen this at the time. As you say, you've got the head of the FCA essentially telling companies that mergers won't go through until they fire voices that oppose the government. Joe is talking about the people out there who have got this incredible ability now to control the narrative, these big companies. He has them on the show. They are his friends and his guest list, but he's completely unable to see that fact.
Yeah, he's got Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, and I don't know if you guys know this, but Mark Andreesen is now one of the people who's involved in TikTok too. So these are people with lots of power and that are literally controlling the spigot of information that you get to hear about and get to see on their platforms. All right. So we're going to shift now, and we're going to move to another segment, and it's the tool bags.
It's a tool area.
But before we do, I would normally have a little intro, a little music here, but instead I put together. Now there's going to be a quiz after this, so you got to pay attention. Pay attention to what you hear. It's less than a minute long. I put together a whoa compilation. So here it is.
Whoa! 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 Okay.
Whoa. You couldn't do business in Japan.
Whoa! 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 Whoa!
Yep.
Whoa! Whoa! Dude.
Well done, Cecil. Amazing.
Okay, all right. So I collected these woes from multiple episodes. I put this together on September 25th. So I'm going to ask you a question, Marsh. How far back did I have to go to get all those woes?
Okay, so this is tricky because we've listened to a lot of this.
Yeah.
The woe is a constant undercurrent to anything the guest says. The crazier thing the guest says, the more of a lie the guest says, Joe only ever goes, whoa, to everything. So he is a prolific woer. He may be the most prolific woer of all time. Nobody has woed more than Rogan. So I reckon I'm going to give you 2 weeks. No, it's not. What am I saying? That's insane. It's way less than that.
what you don't understand is that some woes they bleed into words, so they're actually
Okay,
harder
yeah,
to
you've
use.
cut off the other
so I
things,
had
yeah,
to
yeah.
cut some off. So I did actually go back to August 8th, and that turns out to be 25 total shows. There's 24 woes, so that's 0.96 woes per episode.
It's got to be more. There's
It's
an
more than that.
undercurrent
There's more
woes,
than that. There's
yeah,
more than
yeah.
that, but it still is surprising that there's that many woes per
I
episode.
reckon he'll do 3 wars an episode, which is 1 an hour. he limits himself to 1 an hour. I reckon that's also true of every other hour of his working life. He keeps himself at 1 war per hour. He has to actually get a few extras in because sometimes he sleeps, so he's got to get the quota in while he's awake.
He's doing like 8 really quick ones before he goes to bed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right, so now we're going to move on to our tool bag segment. Now, we just covered Candace Owens on the show. And Candace Owens, her appearance was on May 31st of 2018. Now, most of that show's a fucking train wreck. It's awful. And her and Joe really do rev each other up when it comes to a lot of right-wing causes. But one thing they very vociferously disagreed on was climate change. And so we're going to play 5 clips, they're very short, about her talking to Joe about climate change. So it starts, here's the first one. She sort of unexpectedly falls into this conversation.
I fell victim to the idea that like it was progress. We have to care about the environment. It was progress. And it's like, no, like we've been losing. America has been losing. And Donald Trump understood that in a way that I didn't. And I thought,
think we have to care about the environment? Like, what do you
no, not even a little bit. Like,
Not even a little bit?
no. Okay, let me clarify this. I don't throw trash on the ground. Like I'm not saying like we need to like, trash the environment. Like, but do I believe in climate change? No.
So this was really interesting to watch this when we covered this last time, because I think what's happening here is she just assumed that Joe is with her on the environment stuff. She assumes he's been with her she's been talking about like race stuff previously, and he's with her all the way. So she just assumes Joe is going to go along with her. And that's a reasonable assumption because Joe just goes along with what people are saying. But I think the reason in particular she thinks Joe's going to go along is because she spends so much time, or did at the time, with people who will just yes and will throw those kind of terms out about the environment. People like Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, the people they work for, the people that she runs with. She assumes Joe is one of those too. But what's interesting is he actually pushes back. And this surprised us when we saw that, because we've seen Later Joe, and we'll come to Later Joe, who doesn't have that opinion. And when he pushes back even a little, she immediately shifts. So I don't care about the environment. Okay, well, I'm not going to throw trash around, but I don't believe in climate change. She expects that to stop there. But he keeps pushing back. He's going to carry on pushing back. And you can see her in this clip visibly panicking because she is not prepared to go into this conversation at all. She didn't expect this to be happening.
And what's interesting is normally when you see Joe push back, if he pushes back at all, it'll be a tiny bit and then be like, yeah, but you're allowed your opinion, and then he'll move on. This time, he does not do that. So this is the next clip.
Okay, but this is an incredibly complicated subject.
Right.
And if you would have to talk to a bunch of different scientists
Right.
and see how they gather data and see what they understand about CO2 levels and what's the danger of them
Right.
and what can combat it and what could not. Have you done all this, or
No,
do you
so I
take
think-
this flippant opinion based
listen,
on the party line?
This wouldn't be the hill I died on, right? But it's not about the party. I just genuinely, I've read a ton about it, but I
have
would
you
not
read?
be able to come to you and say like, this is my strong opinion, but here's like the easiest way to say this, right?
Okay.
The fact that there is a disparity in the science community about whether or not it's real is enough to,
Very little.
Yep.
Very little disparity. Most scientists, the vast majority agree that human beings are negatively affecting climate change.
yeah.
The vast majority.
Yeah, I just don't think so.
So you think that the very few scientists that disagree with the
Yeah.
consensus are the ones that are correct?
And this is so interesting. See, the moment Joe describes her as having a flippant opinion, it was genuinely jaw-dropping when I saw it. I was like, Jesus Christ, he's actually going for it on this.
Me too. And he says at the very end there, he says, so you think the very few scientists that disagree with this consensus are the ones that are correct? And it's so funny because Joe feels like the kind of guy who would be he would pick the one dentist out of 10 that would recommend washing your mouth out with acetone or something,
Yeah, absolutely. And again, he's pushing back. And I think you can see her genuinely panicking here. She thought that she was just saying the thing that he and the listeners would want to hear, and he's not going along with that. And you can see she's not sure what she's meant to be saying. And you can see her kind of scrabble around. She slurs a little bit. She kind of tries to find what what the talking point was she's meant to remember to say in this position. So I just think you can get the sense here that she's just used to being in spaces where people are just going to agree with her, and she's not used to this pushback at all. But the fascinating thing about this is the things that Joe is saying here are the exact criticisms we've made of Joe on later shows, because he, like, the stuff that we're saying is the stuff he's ignoring now about scientific consensus, stuff like that.
Yeah, and imagine if we covered a lady by the name of Suzanne Humphreys, who was an anti-vaxxer, and she came on. If he had this conversation with him, she would vibrate until she lit on fire if he had this conversation with her. All right, so now there's more on consensus in this next clip.
2014, the vast majority, 87% of scientists said that human activity is driving global warming, yet only half the American public ascribe to that view. So,
Well, what website is this?
87%, and this is
Scientific American.
yeah.
Yeah, .com though, like, 'cause that means it's making money. I don't trust that. If it was a .org, I would probably take that. But this is just a random website, and I
Well,
don't trust
Scientific
that.
American is not necessarily a random website.
Yeah, I don't believe this like at all. Just so you know,
You don't believe it like at all?
I genuinely don't believe it. I know you do, but I genuinely don't believe it.
I
Like,
believe most of the
87%?
time the consensus of scientists that are studying the data.
right.
Where's that Joe Rogan gone? Where's he gone? Oh, God. Her way of rebuffing all of that climate change is real, is to point out that Scientific American is a .com website. She says, like, you maybe didn't hear that, she said, I wouldn't trust it. She said, I'd trust if it was a .org, I'd take that. But this is just a random website because it's a .com, which means it's making money. Now, I've had a couple of .com websites. They don't all make money. I can tell you that for absolutely free.
Maybe she'd trust it if it was like fossilfuels.org. She would trust it. By the way, fossilfuels.org is open to anyone who wants to start a climate website. That is available to anyone who wants it.
But yeah, what I think is interesting in her pushback, I think that's not a genuine pushback. I don't think there's any way that if she was talking about an issue that agreed with her, she'd be saying, well, don't listen to the .com, I need to see a .org. This is just a way of trying to deny it, trying to sort of throw it out based on anything. And the thing that she's doing, because she's caught out here, is to try and question the money. And I think that is tactically smart from her, at least, because Joe Rogan always wants to question the money. If you are being pushed, if Joe Rogan is doing some kind of pushback on you, one of the ways to diffuse that pushback is to allude towards there being nefarious monetary interests in there, and he's more likely to carry on in a conspiratorial fashion. I think that's what she's trying to do there.
It's impossible to know what Joe's thinking here. But it could be that he's passionate about climate change at this point. Maybe he was passionate about climate change. It's also possible, listening to his back catalog, that he was very passionate about correcting a woman. That could possibly be that he is hearing someone with an opinion that he doesn't, and he wants to make sure that he thinks her opinion is flippant. And he does this a lot on some of the earlier shows that we've seen too. So I can't know that he is 100% a champion of climate change. He won't be later on, by the way. Spoilers. Okay. All right, now this next clip's about climate and the weather.
This is the climate change? Yes, the climate changes. It was different weather yesterday than it was today. The climate is forever changing. Like that's the problem, is that people are making it seem like that's something weird.
No,
that's
unique.
Not.
You're misrepresenting the issue. The issue is people think that human beings are exacerbating climate change.
Joe Rogan's right here. That is a very good response to that. Joe can clearly understand and tell the difference between the climate changing naturally over time and humans having a role in changing it. Bear in mind, he was able to recognize that in 2018. Keep that in mind for the future clips we'll show you.
All right, so this is the final bit of him and Candace talking about climate change.
I'm sorry that I just don't believe in global warming. I'm happy to.
You're allowed to not believe in it.
That's all I've been trying to say. Is I don't believe in it, but I have not.
You're an influencer. And you're a very bright person.
But if somebody had asked me, like at a place where I'm influencing on a college campus, what's your opinion? I would say I have none.
I bet you would say I don't believe in it, like you just did.
That is absolutely not.
But you
that's
just
not
did
true.
it.
There are so many instances where you could watch this, just like, and you can ask Dave Rubin when he asks me a question. I say I don't have an opinion on it.
About a different subject,
but yeah,
perhaps.
because you and I are having a conversation one-on-one.
Yeah, again, this bit of the conversation is so interesting to me. But like, what's interesting in particular, he says that you were saying this because you're an influencer. I think what Joe is kind of hinting at here is that he recognizes that when you are a position of influence, when you're there to influence people, you have a responsibility to try and be right about things, try and follow the evidence. When you are in this influential position, people will listen to your uninformed positions, and that is a bad thing. It's your responsibility to be informed. That's Joe Rogan's opinion in 2018.
It's going to change. One interesting thing is that when you're on a college campus, how many ears are you reaching? You're only reaching the people that are in the room with you. She's on the biggest podcast in the world, currently influencing people. And she doesn't realize that. She thinks that somehow the work she's doing on college campus is where she needs to check herself. She needed to check herself in an interview with the most popular podcaster.
Yeah, and all of that is just because she got caught out because she assumed she was speaking his language and we were surprised she wasn't.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to play a few clips of now because it's important to see where he stands now. And where he stands now is very, very different. So here he is in May of 2024 talking about climate change with his old co-host, Brian Redban.
That doesn't, to me, seem like a bad thing. It's just we don't trust corporations and we don't trust money and we don't trust these climate change psychos who are like, they want you to destroy civilization in order to mitigate a percentage of the impact that humans are having while ignoring the fact that it's a tiny percentage of the global impact. And that these fucking other countries, like China keeps building coal plants. They don't give a fuck about what you're saying. They'll come to the meetings, they'll shake your hand, and they just do what's best for China. And that's how you dominate. And that's what they're doing. It's very smart. What we're doing is goofy as shit. We're letting a bunch of crazy ideologues tell us what they, and a lot of these people don't even know the real argument pro or con about what effect human beings are having on the earth. They just know that it's a thing you're supposed to support, and they just say it. And when you challenge them on it, they get real weird. They get weird, like you're on the wrong side of history, and you say just like, this thing has never been static though,
Okay, so 2024, we're now in a place where it's not about scientific consensus and all the scientists who've done the studying, we should believe them. It's about crazy ideologues is where climate change is. And he's saying, it's never been static. He's already hinting at that argument that Candace Owens was just making.
And he's going to talk about money a lot through a lot of these clips. Just remember, there's no money whatsoever in oil and coal. There's zero money in it. There's four. I just counted four fallacies very quickly in that one little bit of that he speaks. So first he says climate psychos need to destroy civilization to save it. That's a straw man. China will keep building coal plants. Well, that's a nirvana fallacy. If we can't fix it all perfectly, then we can't fix it at all. Then he says let's see. What about China? Clearly, that's whataboutism. And then finally, crazy ideologues that don't have a real argument. That's ad hominem. So within a tiny bit, he is smashing as many as he can. So here we go.
Also, when he's talking about not understanding the real arguments, he's also missing the fact that China has massively upped its solar intake, its solar output and things. So he's not even up to date with what's happening in China and using it as an illustration here.
So here's another clip of him. This is a show that we covered. This is Joe and Mel Gibson talking about climate change. This is in January of this year. A lot of boos. Good for you. Good for you.
Not a lot of Braveheart fans in the room.
Well, there's a lot of horseshit that's involved in climate change for sure. I've studied that, and I've had many discussions over the last 4 years. The problem with anything is that once a narrative gets established, and then there's a profit attached to the solution to that narrative.
Yes.
And that's green energy and green energy bills, and there's businesses that are wrapped around there. And then there's also this fear that they love to pump into people about climate change, that they terrify the shit out of young people that we're going to destroy the world and climate change, you must act now. And then you become beholden to the political party that is espousing these ideas, and then your enemy is the deniers of this science, even though you don't even understand the science.
Yeah.
And did you see the Washington Post article that they published recently about temperature change on Earth?
No.
Well, there's what they've realized is over the last, X amount of thousands of years that the temperature on Earth is plummeting.
Yeah.
And it's dropping. And then when they look at the dips, this is the most important thing for anybody that's really freaked out about climate change. There's no static temperature of Earth ever. Mm-hmm. There's never been a time where it maintains a temperature until human beings came along and fucked it all up. Mm-hmm. That is just not real. Mm-hmm. Before human beings ever existed, if you trust these core samples, there's been a giant rise and fall and this constant dip. There it is.
Yeah.
Scientists have captured Earth's climate over the last 485 million years. Here's a surprising place we stand now. Look at the dip at the end.
Whoa.
That's where we are. That's reality. And then if you look at the course of history, you look at the rise and fall, like, it's never a straight line. Way before human beings ever existed, if you believe these silly people. Way before human beings had ever existed. There's always this rise and fall. And this idea that the whole thing is based on carbon emissions from human beings is total bullshit.
So yeah, this is 2025 now, and now he's saying, well, he's studied it for over 4 years, and he's talked to people about it. Well, we know what he believed 6 years previously. So whatever he's done in that 4 years has completely changed his mind.
Yeah, Joe is studying it. He's got his climate graphs spread all over the table. He wrote a term paper about it, I'm sure.
And now he's talking about people being unfairly told they are denying the science, which is what he was criticizing Candace for. In fact, this whole argument he's making about how the temperature of the Earth has never been static, if you look at the history, is the argument that Candace Owens made that he was taking a part in that conversation. He's completely changed his mind on it. And he's saying, if you look, we know that the climate has always changed. He said, if you just look at the core samples that people have been taking. Okay. Who took the core samples and what do they think, Joe? Did they agree with your interpretation of climate change, or do they think their work supports the fact that climate change is happening? He's very much picking what science he believes at any given point. He's talking about if you believe these silly people. By these silly people, he means the scientific consensus, the one he was telling Candace Owens about. Yeah. He now no longer believes. And he also said you go back over the last X amount of thousands of years, you'll find this. But the graph actually on that Washington Post article actually goes back 485 million years.
That's a lot
of
thousands.
That is the x-axis.
That's so many thousands.
It's a lot of the years there. So yes, it was hotter 100 million years ago, Joe, but why don't you go back and ask the people from then how they felt about it? And you can't, because Earth was incompatible with human life at the time. That's what we're trying to avoid here. He's got the line about where it goes up. That line is steeper than other kind of parts where there have been like mass extinctions and things. But the line that we're in right now...
This one here, this is the one where we're at right now.
Oh, yeah. So this line is particularly steeper. It's steeper than the mass extinction event that we saw earlier, which means that temperatures are rising more rapidly than they did at the time. But what I like about this article, this is still from the Washington Post article. It zooms in to when humans appeared. So he saw that whole graph. You just go back one. Yeah. We saw the whole graph. Look at the graph, it changes over time. But if we look at just when humans got here and see what we've done. It's right there. Yeah, exactly. Let's go back to the front one, to the next one again. Humans get here, and this is what we've done. Yeah. 300,000 years ago, we go almost vertically up. So the graph that he is stating is very clearly debunking
that line is the brick wall we are going to run into. Yeah. All right. So he also had on the trigonometry people to talk about climate change, but they don't get a word in edgewise here. So it's just him.
Because the climate change thing is really nuanced. And there's a ton of factors, including solar activity, including there's all sorts of weird shit that happens with the temperature on Earth. Before humans ever existed, it would go way up and way down and way up and way. North America was covered in almost 2 miles of ice, like 50% of it. That was just 10,000 years ago.
Yeah, and those people 10,000 years ago were crushing it. I mean, come on. Yeah, the ice. They were crushing the ice. That's what they were crushing.
But that's, I mean, no one is disputing that climate has changed over time and changed before we existed in the early parts of existence and stuff. But we are changing, we are driving that change now. If he is happy for America to go back under 2 miles of ice, fine. I mean, I'd probably take that.
Okay.
That would actually be better.
Okay.
You know.
We're going to skip one of the clips because we're moving a little slow. So we're going to skip one of the clips. The guy's name is Brigham Bueller. You're not missing anything. He's talking about Bernie Sanders. So I'm going to skip it real quick. And we're on to the next one. This final one is his 3-time guest, billionaire Mark Andreessen. And his first appearance was in July of 2022. And this was him talking to Mark Andreessen about climate change.
What seems that kind of religious thinking applies to so many critical issues of our time. Yeah. Like even things like climate change. Right. I've brought up climate change to people, and you see this almost like ramping up of this defending of this idea that upon further examination, they have very little understanding of, or at least a sort of a cursory understanding that they've gotten through a couple Washington Post articles.
Right. Okay. So, yeah. So this is from 2022, and you can see this is Joe actually a bit less bombastic, a bit less certain than he would become 3 years later. So he's in this kind of transition mode from the 2018 Joe who believed in climate change to the 2025 that we'll see. This is him on that road. But when he talks about a cursory understanding of a Washington Post article, we've seen him rely on a single skim read of one Washington Post graph that he hasn't bothered to try and understand, because if he did, that graph, the article itself, would point out that there's a massive steep rise that we have caused. So yeah, he can't just criticize people for believing the Washington Post. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, you could argue he doesn't even have a cursory understanding of that single Washington Post article.
It's cursory in the sense his cursor went on the screen for a little while, and then he scrolled past it.
All right, so now we're going to move on to our undercard. We get Joe's email, and we don't want to get Joe's email. We never signed up for Joe's email, but several people in the media have found us and think that we are Joe Rogan's podcast, and so they send us media. Of course, they send us media pitches constantly.
Oh, the BBC once got in touch to try and interview Joe Rogan. They emailed us.
They emailed us instead. We responded and we said, "Hey, we're not, but we do know a lot about Joe Rogan," and they never called.
They never got back to us.
And then of course we get a ton of people who are his fans. But the way you contact us is through a form. We have a form on our page that says "Contact the Show." And we very specifically have on here, this podcast is in no way affiliated with Joe Rogan or the Joe Rogan Experience. If you're trying to do that, please contact their podcast. But that doesn't dissuade people, of course, and they send tons of emails. So we're going to read a smattering of our email to you today. These are emails from people in all different kinds of situations that want to reach out and talk to Joe Rogan. So here's the first one. I would really like to talk to you. I have a face for radio. Samesies. All right. Also, during the 2016 election, I was made famous on Twitter, even though I don't have a Twitter account. I was the #1 trending thing. You can look me up. I gave you my real name. I would love to have a conversation with you on microphone or not, LOL. Would be way cooler on the microphone. I am not a robot. I just want to say that sounds like something a robot with a face for radio would say.
So it does, but also this was someone who was famous on Twitter, but not with a Twitter account. Is it the Pizza Rat? Is that about 2016? I think we've been emailed by the Pizza Rat.
Pizza Rat.
Yeah.
I don't think you're wrong. Okay, well, here's the next one. Go ahead, Marsh.
Here's one. Hi, Joe. I hope this reaches you. I'm a huge fan of everything you do. I appreciate that you're willing to give a leg up to anyone that needs or deserves it. My dad is the best human on earth, and I think you and him could easily talk for hours about pretty much anything and everything. He's extremely clever, open-minded person. He also owns 5 beautiful classic cars and is deeply interested in all things across the world. I think with your help, my dad's new YouTube could help him retire, which would be incredible. Yeah, just I'm looking for the Joe Rogan bump. There is a lot of people looking
a lot of people
doing
doing that.
Joe Rogan
a
bump.
lot of people also interested in all things across the world, too. Here's the next one. Hi, Joe. I almost wrote Mr. Rogan, but you seem like you could be the neighbor next door, and Mr. Taylor was too formal. Clearly, it's an autocorrect. That's supposed to be Mr. Rogan. I am an everyman. Unique as we all are, but famous only in my circle of friends, samesies, and acquaintances. I am interesting. A opera I wrote with my twin brother and a composer friend premiered in a small venue in Japan. I want to say more. ... Please consider interviewing me. A dude who lives his life as a working man and a dilettante scholar.
Yep.
I want to talk about this email we got. So we get images sometimes, and evidently if you fold money, you can look in the past and know we blew things up. So my favorite one is the top row there. It's the federal building in Oklahoma City. If you were going to plan to make a foldable dollar, a $20 bill that you could do this with, you would have to go back to 1927 and be in cahoots with Calvin Coolidge in order to figure out to actually create the dollar as it's seen here. So we get tons of messages like this all the time. Also, there's a devil in the corner over here too. They got a little devil, and you can make it. So it's a whole thing. And if you're interested, anybody's interested, I'll show you later. There's a QR code in the corner. So I don't know what's on the QR code. Probably porn.
Okay, here's another one. This is very typical of a genre of emails that we get. Imagine speaking with a jack of all trades who can explain to anyone who thinks they got it all figured out on whatever issue of concern why they're probably wrong. Don't you just love it when a regular Joe can expose some self-serving supposed expert with raw logic and common sense? Dot. And a second dot. I have a pretty intense message to share. Not everyone's ready to hear it. You are. Please, Joel, reach out if you're curious. I am more than willing to explain myself. I didn't choose to reach out to you because of your fame, but rather because you've spoken to so many experts and therefore have a unique perspective to understand my take. From the guy who couldn't possibly have figured it all out, I hope you reach out. You'll be pleasantly surprised. No regret. So a lot of people want to share their intel with Joel.
This next one. Wow, will he really responded? One, if not the biggest broadcast. Well, I'm a nobody. Griru up hard, always had an open mind, been around. I'm no Bill Murray or Donald Trump, but I like your style. I think interesting people often get seen or unheard about. But I think I'm interesting enough just to hang out for a bit, talk shit, movies, music, whatever. I am 53 years of age. I'm a cremation operator specialist, and I've made soup. Interesting wording. I've made soup for 25 years for Campbell's. That says a lot about Campbell's soup, doesn't it? Hold on, and then it says, and lots of famous people. And then it just stops. Okay, I don't know what's happening there. Lots of concerts, sex, drugs, rock, and D-roll. And a chance of Lee life. Love you, man. Get in touch, maybe, takey, and then keep the good work.
Someone who made soup for famous people at a crematorium? Unclear. Here's a lot here. Yo, Joe, wondering if you want just a regular 9-to-5 guy to talk with on the pod. I'm a supporter of yours, and I think I may be able to give a different perspective to the show. Quick info about me. I'm 29, male, I work in construction mapping, I'm Hispanic/white, and a common sense thinker, aka Trump supporter. This is very everyman stuff that comes on.
Very common sense thinker. He emailed the wrong show. So... here's another one. Now, some of these are sad. Some of these are incredibly sad. So this one was one of those incredibly sad ones. I saw the podcast with Mel Gibson stating his 3 friends had stage 4 cancer and it's now completely gone. I was wondering how I can get more information, please. It was involving blue dye and ivermectin. Thank you so much. Anything will help. And so this is also a common thing. They will ask him about the latest supplement he's taking or the latest crazy thing that Mel Gibson just said.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we only see the narrowest slice of this, the slice that comes to us by mistake, and the people who get there having missed the warning saying do not email us. But the fact that even we're seeing people asking Joe via us to help with cancer, I wouldn't like to see how many requests he actually gets. And it just shows that he is this clearinghouse for all sorts of health misinformation. What's this next one? Okay, yeah. So the next one here, some people are genuine. It's interesting because this narrow slice that we get to see, we get some people who are genuinely pissed off with the direction that Joe is taking, and that's really interesting too. Like this one. What's it going to take for you to tell the truth of what Trump and his sick administration is doing? You have a voice for reason, wondering the legacy you will leave to us all as America burns to the ground. Stand up and help save our country. Stand for the truth. So people genuinely are pissed off with what's going on with Joe Rogan and are taking it to him over his email.
And we get a lot of messages from the very same person. His name is, we're going to call him Tim. He sends us a lot of stuff. He CCs the following list of people on every single. So I'm not going to read all these, but a few of my favorites. Dave Grohl, a tequila company owned by George Clooney. Both Jason Momoa and Henry Cavill, so half the cast of Justice League gets this. The Supreme Court Historical Society gift shop is one of them. And the best one, my favorite, is a wheat flour brand customer service line also gets this.
Yeah, my favorite on there is the Lieutenant of Cornwall at Cornwall County Council. I don't know how they made it on there, but kudos to them. That's some high company to keep.
So he has sent us more than 580 emails since July 4th. Many of these emails they're a long thread. So it'll be he will have a thread, and then now they're going to see an image of us scrolling through them here behind me. There'll be a thread, and he'll just he replies to himself. So as you see all those re's, that's him saying stuff to him. So he keeps on saying stuff to himself. And then, so there's multiple email threads, and you can see there's a million different ones in here. And he also, for every single one, he CCs the Democratic National Committee. So every single email we get, it's a ticket response from their help desk saying, you've been put in the queue. So then we get a bunch of help desk tickets as well. There's quite a few of these emails. I don't know if we're going to go through them all. We're going to read a couple of them. Let's see, not this one.
Oh, you've got to do the first one.
First one, okay.
Pretty sure I can create my own independent knights free of Commonwealth control who are awesome and lead knights and the leads of other knights they can create. Let's a go.
Let's a go. It's Mario. It's Mario. Let me see. I'm gonna try to skirt through some of these because I know we're running low on time. Here's one for you. The fuck London one. There you go.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love this. Only because the subject of this email was fuck London, you destroyed the 70s, 80s, and 90s. You stifle us all. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, mate. Absolutely. Fuck London, you destroyed us all. Yeah, I'm totally on board. Less on board with him saying John Cleese is all we have left for comedians for people to enjoy.
This one's my favorite. It's just the subject. The subject kills it. It's unblocked now because I am the fucking wolf. And, I mean, unblock the guy, for Christ's sakes. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah, I do like this one. He's saying, I've come to admire your show. He says, I'm a Muslim, a Jedi Knight, and have the power to destroy wickedness. Very happy with that.
I'm gonna skip to the last one. The last one was a different person. They sent it to these people here. So Robert Shapiro, the Kane County Bar Association, Barack Obama, our current awful president, Hillary Clinton, Tips at Rolling Stone, Bernie Sanders, Arnold Schwarzenegger. But my favorite is that they CC'd Logan Paul.
Yeah,
So
he's not a straight two.
He didn't get on.
He just needs to be kept in the loop. They're not expecting a response, but to keep in the loop.
So here it is. It says, I believe that Neuralink is a front and is being used as intel, the public, for QAnon through surveillance, role players, and targeted individuals. Neuralink uses biometric monitoring to communicate to each other silently. A muscle twitch, men pulling their testicles in. Different baseball hand signs could be being used. And with that, gentlemen, let's all pull our testicles in. Ladies, we got this. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.